Hi there, I'm Kate McClellan, and I've been a professional wedding planner for over 20 years now. I started Planning Collective when I noticed that though most couples are super excited about getting engaged, they quickly feel overwhelmed and intimidated by the actual process of planning their weddings. If left unchecked, this can lead to massive burnout and the urge to scrap all your plans and just elope. While this is totally normal, you don't have to sacrifice your sanity for your dream wedding. In the Wedding Planning Collective podcast, I'm going to share the processes, tips, and tools that all engaged couples like you need to feel confident, supported, and excited about your wedding plans again. Let's get started. Hey, before we jump into today's episode, I want to share a free resource that I think every engaged couple should have. AI can be an incredible wedding planning tool, but it can also give you some really terrible advice. The tricky part, if you've never planned a wedding, is that it's hard to spot the difference. And that's exactly why I created my AI wedding planning cheat sheet. Inside, I'll show you what AI is really great at when it comes to wedding planning, where you should be cautious, and how to use it to save hours of time without letting one bad AI answer derail your entire wedding plans. Plus, you'll get 30 copy and paste prompts to help you with everything from budgets and timelines to vendor emails, wedding website wording, guest list questions, and design ideas, all written specifically for wedding planning. Think of it as your AI guide to planning smarter, not harder. You can download it for free now at planningcollective.com/AI. All right, let's get into today's episode. Hey guys, Kate here. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Planning Collective podcast. Over the past few weeks, I've had several different couples that I've been working with reach out and have very similar questions or messages. One couple asked me, can we schedule a quick check-in? They had a few questions and honestly just wanted to make sure they were on the right track because they were starting to feel like things were getting really disorganized. Another couple said that they were feeling like they had no idea what they were supposed to be doing next. And another told me they felt like they were constantly thinking about the wedding or working on things, but somehow not making progress at the same time. And here's what I found really interesting. Once I had a chance to connect with each of these couples, I learned that they weren't behind. They hadn't forgotten anything major. They were actually all three doing really well in the planning process, but they had all reached the same point in wedding planning. And that is the point where it stops feeling exciting and fun. And it starts feeling like it is just this full-time project that's weighing you down. If that sounds a little bit familiar, I want you to know that you are certainly not alone. It is very common to feel this way. And second, you're probably not doing anything wrong. I'm going to say probably because obviously I don't know your situation, but the chances are you're not doing anything wrong and you're just falling into what I call the wedding planning spiral. So today we're going to break that down, why the wedding planning spiral happens, and what you can do within 30 minutes or so to help get you out of it and feel in control again. Before we get into the solution though, I want to talk a little bit about why I think this happens. If you think back to the first few months after you got engaged, everything felt so exciting. You were announcing your engagement, talking to your family and friends, sharing ideas, touring venues, trying on dresses, and booking a lot of your main vendors. And there was probably even cake tasting in there somewhere. Everything felt really exciting and like it was a big milestone. And of course, the people around you that you've surrounded yourself with were equally excited and asking you about the wedding too, right? It was fun. And then something changes, right? Your venue is booked. Most of your major decisions or vendors are also locked in and booked. And it's not that the excitement disappears, but the workload changes, right? Instead of making 10 big decisions, now you have 100 little decisions on your shoulders. Do you need ceremony programs? Who should sit with Aunt Linda that you know is going to make things about politics? Should we upgrade the linens? Do we ever respond to the florist that we never booked? When are final payments due? When do you talk to your DJ about the announcing order? Do you really need to have transportation for all of your guests? How about inviting that one more cousin, or is that just going to be a domino effect to your guest list? And when was the last time we updated the budget? None of these decisions or tasks are really huge on their own, but together they can feel so overwhelming and exhausting, and it creates a problem called decision fatigue. This usually hits about halfway through the planning process, and it can feel so overwhelming. Your brain has shifted from making a handful of big decisions to needing to make hundreds of small decisions that somehow all feel hugely important, but also not important at the same time, somehow. You sit down on a weekend morning and say, I'm just going to spend like 20 minutes trying to get some centerpiece ideas. And that turns into a quick hour. Now you're down a Pinterest rabbit hole that's trying to convince you that your colors aren't right. And that makes you wonder if you should change all of your flowers. And if you change the flowers, what about the linens? And then the bridesmaids' dresses. And then it just keeps going from there, right? Add TikTok to the mix, and now you're getting really inundated with all these other ideas and trends. Do you need to add table lamps to your centerpieces? One bride told you 6 months is when you should send out your invitations, another's telling you 6 to 8 weeks. And the comparison game is truly wild. Their tablescapes are prettier than ours are going to be. Look at her dress. I really wanted to do this style instead of that one. Maybe our budget isn't enough. Did we budget too much? Did we book the wrong photographer? Until finally you close your laptop or put your phone down and you feel like you've accomplished absolutely nothing in your wedding planning session, except make yourself feel more stressed. I promise you, I have heard this from hundreds of couples. It is not unusual to go through this, but I bet we can get you out of the spiral. Let's talk about 3 signs that indicate you're stuck in this wedding planning spiral. The first one is you are constantly thinking about your wedding, but you are not getting anything accomplished. So you've always got your binder or your notes open. You feel like you're always thinking about ideas, but all you seem to be doing is adding to your checklist of to-dos or not crossing anything off. Number 2, you keep changing your mind, whether it's about the flowers, the seating chart, the timeline, favors, signature cocktails, or even all of the above. When you're overwhelmed, your confidence about decisions is going to disappear. When you're overwhelmed, your confidence disappears, and then every decision is going to feel questionable. And finally, number 3, everything feels urgent. Every email, every vendor, every Pinterest pin or TikTok that you see, every family opinion feels like you need to weigh it with equal importance. And your brain doesn't know where to start or sort all of these emotions. So it starts nowhere and you put down your phone or you close that laptop. And it's actually in this moment that I see couples make the biggest mistake, because when you feel like you're so overwhelmed, you feel like you are so behind in the planning or you're not doing things right, you feel like, okay, I need to do more. I need to do more research. I need more Pinterest, more Facebook groups, more TikToks, more opinions. How do I know if we're doing this right or not? And that just adds to the comparison and the overwhelm. So, the one thing I want you to remember is when you're overwhelmed, the problem usually isn't that you don't have enough information, it's that you have too much information. What you actually need is clarity for what you should be doing next. If you're feeling like this is hitting really close to home, I have an exercise that I want to recommend, and it's only going to take you 30 minutes, not 3 hours, not your entire weekend, although it certainly can if you want it to, but we're going to start off with just the first 10 minutes. I want you to ask yourself one main question. What are the 3 most important things about your wedding? Not 20, not all of them, not like a whole brain dump of everything, but top 3 things. Is it amazing food? Is it having all your people together? A packed dance floor? Gorgeous photos? Whatever it is, write them down. From there, every future decision should support those priorities. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know how much I stress being comfortable with your priorities. If you've already had some really good conversations about your priorities, well done, I'm proud of you. But take this time to reflect on them and make sure that they still feel right as you've gotten further into the planning process. Because one thing I don't talk too much about with your priorities is that it's okay to change your mind or your priorities as you learn more about your options in the wedding planning process, right? But what I want to make sure is not happening is that you are getting caught up in like that new shiny object or trend or idea that you're attracted to like in the moment, but it is not really changing your mind on your priorities. So do a little gut check there and see, is this really something that is important to you? Or are you just being influenced by something you saw on social media? Okay, after you've done that, whether it's coming up with your priorities or reviewing priorities that you guys have already been talking about, I want you to open up your budget. Now, this isn't to panic or to judge yourself, but it's to get yourself grounded in reality. What's already booked, what is left to book, and what is left to spend. Most couples don't have an endless bank account when it comes to their wedding. And so it's really important to keep an eye on where you're at throughout the planning process. As we've talked about before, the budget is not something you do once and then you set it aside. You need to constantly be updating it and keeping an eye on it so that you're comfortable making any of these decisions. And sometimes just simply looking at the facts instead of the stress immediately lowers your anxiety. And finally, forget about the wedding day for a minute. Instead, think about the next 30 days. That's it. What appointments do you need to make? What vendors do you have to get back to? Do you have any final payments or balances or bookings that you need to take care of? What decisions actually need to be made this month? Write those things down and ignore everything else. There's a reason why that saying one day at a time is popular, because the big picture view of things can feel so overwhelming. And to be fair, you might not even need to plan for the next 30 days, depending on when your wedding is. If that even feels overwhelming, take a look at what you can easily check off the list today or this week, and then you can let the momentum build. Now, when you finish this exercise, your wedding won't suddenly be all planned, right? You're not magically going to have every answer after a 30-minute brainstorming session. But hopefully, you'll know what's next. You'll know what the next priority is. And that's going to help you feel much more organized and in control of your wedding planning. So it's not having everything finished, right? It's knowing what deserves your attention today and giving yourself permission to let everything else wait. And if this episode feels a little pep talky to you, that's because it kind of is. It really started as I was looking at my long list of things that I needed to get done right now, and I felt so overwhelmed. And there were a couple of days I just ended up not getting anything done, not checking anything off the list. And I had to look at it and say, all right, I'm not going to get everything done in one day. What needs to be done right now? And then you just look at it each day and take that approach. And if today's episode felt a little personal or a little too relatable, I hope you take that as an actually reassuring thing, because reaching the stage in planning doesn't necessarily mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you're bad at planning. It doesn't mean everyone else has it figured out except for you. It means you've reached the part of wedding planning where the excitement gives way to the logistics. And the logistics aren't always glamorous or the fun part, right? They're manageable, especially when you stop trying to solve the entire wedding at one time. But break it down 30 minutes at a time. Revisit your priorities, ground yourself in your budget and those priorities, and focus on what needs to be done in the next week or 30 days. And I hope you'll be surprised by how much lighter wedding planning starts to feel. And of course, if you feel like you could use a little bit more support and guidance throughout the planning process, I would love to have you join us over in the Planning Collective Blueprint. It's like having a wedding planner in your back pocket, guiding you through each stage of wedding planning so you can spend less time second guessing yourself and more time enjoying your engagement. If that sounds exactly like something you've been looking for, you can find more information at planningcollective.com/membership. And if you found this episode helpful, I would love it if you could take a quick second to rate and review, and of course, subscribe if you're over on YouTube. It would mean so much to me, and it will help other couples find the wedding planning help they need. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode where we're actually going to continue this pep talk. We're going to talk about the 7 conversations I recommend you have that will help save you stress and money while you're planning your wedding. See you then.